today I got 3 outside, non-biased historical references of Jesus that prove we can trust the Bible and the things that it say. Let's get into it. What up, y'all folks? Long time no see, man. It's been about what, a week or two, man? Hey, what it do, man? You know what I'm saying? Lately I've been out, you feel me? Just trying to figure out life and stuff, you feel me? Trying to figure out what to do in life and stuff and all that good stuff, you feel me? But we here though, man. Today I got something a little different for y'all, man. Today I'm gonna be proving that Jesus isn't a myth and that the Gospels are trustworthy. Before we even get into this, hit the like button, bruh. Just hit the like button, fam. That's all, you know what I'm saying? Just take a little second, you feel me? Click out the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We on the road to 200 subscribers, man. I need y'all, you feel me? I need y'all, you feel me? I need y'all support, man. It really helped me. It really go a long way. Help me mentally, keep going, you feel me? Hopefully one day it help me financially, you feel me? But yeah, with all that being said, let's get into it. So I hear a lot of people like to say that Jesus is a myth, he wasn't real, you feel me? He was just made up to give people hope. It's just a fake story, you know what I'm saying? And we can't trust the gospel, you feel me? All the good stuff. But today I got 3 outside, non-biased historical references of Jesus that prove we can trust the Bible and the things that it say. Let's get into it. So starting out, we're gonna start out with Josephus. He didn't believe in Jesus, you know. He didn't believe in Jesus, so we can trust that this is non-biased, you know what I'm saying? This ain't some Christian mentioning Jesus, you know what I'm saying, to give people hope and none of that. This is outside of the Bible. So with that being said, let's look into one of the mentions of Jesus and the things around that. So right here in one of Josephus' writings, we see that it's a high priest by the name of Ananias. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ananias. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say that word, you feel me? Ananias. I don't really know how to say it. You know what I'm saying? Right here it says that this younger Ananias, who, as we have told you already, took the high priesthood. So it's showing us that Ananias, he was a high priest. So one day he took some judges. He took it upon himself to gather some judges and brought before them the brother of Jesus. And then it goes on to say that Jesus, who was called Christ. So this is historical outside of the Bible. So we at least know that Jesus really was a man who walked on this earth and really was going around calling himself the Christ. So then it goes on to say that before them the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ. So now whose name was James. So we see that Jesus, also called Christ, has a brother named James, and this lines up with the Bible. As we see in Galatians chapter 1 verse 19, it says, saw none of the other apostles, only James, the Lord's brother. So we see that the Bible is telling the truth about Jesus having a brother named James. As we go on to Mark chapter 6 verse 3, and it goes on, when Jesus was preaching in the synagogue, he's claiming that he's the Messiah. We see the people going, what? You the Messiah? Isn't this the carpenter? You know what I'm saying? Because in Jesus' hometown, they know him as a carpenter. They say, isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James? So we know that the Bible is telling the truth about this. So when we go on to read, it says, whose name was James and some others. So this high priest take James and James' other disciples, you know, because they all following Jesus. Then it says, and some others, or some of his companions. And when he had formed an accusation against them as breakers of the law, he delivered them to be stoned. We see that James just got delivered to be stoned for breaking the law. The only law that he broke was believing in Jesus, you know what I'm saying? They made it legal around that time. Other than that, they were innocent. They never did nothing to nobody. So we see that James and his companions being persecuted about their belief and their faith. You know what I'm saying? And it goes on to mention that in the Bible as well, you know what I'm saying? Like right here we see it written, are they servants of Christ? I am out of my mind to talk like this. I am more. I have worked much harder, been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, and been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I have been constantly on the move. I have been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from my fellow Jews, in danger from Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? And it goes on to how we see, I think it's Paul mentioning how much he been persecuted and how much his life been in danger. And we see that this is a common pattern for people who believe in Jesus. Let me show y'all something else. James didn't even believe in Jesus at first, because right here it says Jesus entered a house, and again a crowd gathered around him, so that he and his disciples were not able to eat. When his family heard about this, they went to take charge of him. For they said he is out of his mind. Jesus' own family didn't even believe in him at first. Let me show y'all something else. So right here in John 7, we see that it says, no one wants to become a public figure, acts in secret. Since you are doing these things, show yourself to the world. For even his own brothers did not believe in him. So we see that Jesus' own family and his brothers and all did not believe in him at first. So now let's look into this. This is when Jesus already died, and this is when he resurrected. So now it goes on to say, after that he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James. So we see that Jesus appeared to James. Before, James didn't even believe in Jesus. He didn't believe Jesus was who he claimed to be. So from Josephus, we can see that James really was the brother of Jesus and really did live. So he went from not believing it and thinking he crazy and out of his mind. So, and if you go to Acts, we see Peter and the disciples of Jesus discussing should Gentiles have to be circumcised in order to be considered a Christian. So we see that James made the final decision, and he says, "It is my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who will turn into God." So we see James have the final decision as to what matters and what not. We see James not believing in Jesus and then thinking that he crazy and out of his mind, and now we see him becoming a leader of the church and even making final decisions, and he's making these final judgment after Jesus came to him after his resurrection. So we know that something absolutely crazy had to have happened for James to even be doing stuff like this and being stoned about his faith. Something absolutely insane and radical had to have happened for James, and this character development, you know, something crazy had to have happened. And you know, we know the Bible ain't lying about Jesus having brothers, because you know what I'm saying, Josephus, this is outside of the Bible. Josephus, he didn't believe in Jesus, you know what I'm saying. He was part of the Roman government, you know what I'm saying, also a historian. He kept accounts of and documents of what was going on during that time, you feel me? It's absolutely reasonable to believe in the Bible and to believe that it's trustworthy. Let's look into another source. So right here we see a man by the name of Cornelius Tacitus. In this letter, it's a fight in Rome that had happened, and we see a man by the name of Nero. He fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations called Christians. Nero, he needed to put the blame of the fire on somebody, and he chose to blame it on the Christians. So as we go on to read, it says Christus, you know what I'm saying, and Christus was Latin for Christ, you know what I'm saying. Now, as we don't advance our English, it's just Christ, simply Christ. But Latin is Christus, from whom the name had its origin. It's telling you how Christians got their name, and it comes from Christus. And we all know that Christ is referring to Jesus, you feel me? Now it's going on to tell you what happened to Jesus, how he died. And it says, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus. So in Luke 3 verse 1, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea. So you know, we just read from Tacitus that Jesus, or aka Christus, suffered the extreme penalty, which was crucifixion during the reign of Tiberius. And we just read that right here in the Bible of Tiberius Caesar. And then it goes on and says, at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate. So right here we see that it says Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, and it even goes on to say this in Mark 15. You know, it's telling us what happened with Jesus and Pilate. And you know, so right here, you know what I'm saying, we see Jesus handed over to Pilate. At the end, it says, what shall I do then with the one you call King of the Jews? And then all the Jews saying, crucify him. And Pilate like, he ain't did nothing, you know what I'm saying, but they still saying crucifying. So you know what I'm saying, Pilate wanted to satisfy the crowd, so Pilate gave them back the criminal that actually committed a crime, and had Jesus beaten and handed over to be crucified, you know what I'm saying. And that lines up with Tacitus, an outside source from the Bible that's non-biased. We know it's non-biased because he goes on to say that Christian belief a most mischievous superstition. You know what I'm saying, a Christian would call their belief a superstition. They believe it to be true, you know what I'm saying. Us Christians, we believe our religion to be true, you know what I'm saying. We would never call it a superstition, you feel me, or a mischievous, you feel me. It's talking about how they were wrongfully accused of the fire, you know what I'm saying, and they got inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abomination, you know what I'm saying. When we go in the Bible, we see Peter talking about that, You know what I'm saying? He writing a letter and he telling the Christian that they're gonna be persecuted for their faith. And he says, if you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the spirit of glory and of God rests on you. If you suffer, it should not be as a murderer or thief or any kind of criminal or even as a meddler. However, if you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. So Peter even telling them, you know what I'm saying, almost as a prophecy that they gonna suffer and that they gonna be persecuted for their faith, but stay strong because you got God with you, you feel me? It all just lines up. Like, it can't be, like, they're not lying, you feel me? You know, even in 2 Timothy, it goes on to say, in fact, everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. You know what I'm saying? Like, they believe to know you're gonna be persecuted for believing in Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And it still lines up with Tacitus, you feel me? Also in 2 Timothy, it says, remember Jesus Christ, raised from the dead, descended from David. This is my gospel, for which I am suffering even to the point of being chained like a criminal. But God's word is not changed, you know. So we seeing this pattern of Christians suffering for their belief and what they believe to be true, you know what I'm saying? It just all lines up too good, you feel me? Like, we seeing a pattern of persecution, torture, suffering, crucifixion, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Tacitus, he says, Christ, from whom the name had its origin, suffered extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius, you know what I'm saying? Pilate. And, you know, we know the Bible not lying about that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The Bible lines up with history outside of the Bible itself, you feel me? And we know that it's trustworthy, like, they not lying about this at least, you know what I'm saying? And you might say, like, oh, well, nobody disagreeing with the fact that Jesus existed. The problem comes in that whether did he really raise from the dead, or did he really have a virgin birth, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? So my question is to you, then what caused James to change like that? You know what I'm saying? Why would he go from thinking Jesus crazy and out of his mind and not believing to becoming one of the leaders of the church and being even dying behind his faith? What caused that change to make James, Jesus' own brother, go from not believing to becoming one of the leaders of the church and not renouncing his faith to the end, even dying behind his faith? What caused that change? People saying, like, people die for their cause all the time, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, something radical had to have happened for James to be believing in his brother like this, you know? You know what I'm saying? If you were atheist watching this, James thought Jesus was crazy and out of his mind. Just like you probably think I'm crazy for believing Jesus raised from the dead. And you probably think I'm out of my mind for believing that. Well, you know, I don't have personal experiences in my life, you know what I'm saying, that made me believe, you know what I'm saying? Like, that caused me to change, just like James. I can relate, bro. And this is stuff you gotta deal with. Like, it lines up with history, you feel me? And I got one more story for y'all. So now we go to Pliny the Younger. This is a dude who was part of the Roman government too, and this dude, he persecuted Christians heavily for their faith. You know what I'm saying? He writing a letter, you know what I'm saying? He want to know, is what he doing reasonable? Like, is he doing good, persecuting Christians the way that he is? So let's look into it. So he's explaining the methods he took towards persecuting the Christians. So it says, in the meanwhile, the method I have observed towards those who have been denounced me as Christian is this. So first he interrogate them whether they Christians or not. So if they say that they are, he gonna ask them again, you know what I'm saying? But this time he say, like, I'm gonna ask you one more time. If you say you are, then you're gonna receive this punishment, you know what I'm saying? Right here it says, adding the threat of capital punishment. If they still preserve, I order them to be executed, you know what I'm saying? So first he asks them, are you a Christian? And they say yes. Then it's like, okay, if you say you're a Christian, then this is gonna happen to you. If they still say yes, then he hand them over to be executed, you feel me? And then he goes on to say, for whatever the nature of their creed might be, I could at least feel no doubt that contumacy, you know what I'm saying, basically meaning like that they stubborn belief and inflexible obstinacy deserve chastisement. He basically saying that they deserve to be punished for being this stubborn about their belief, you feel me? So, you know, once again, we see this pattern of Christians being persecuted, and in the Bible it talk about them being persecuted. You know what I'm saying? Even goes on to say that they were meeting on a certain fixed day before it was light, when they sang in alternate verses as a hymn to Christ as to a God, and bound themselves by a solemn oath not to any wicked deed, but to never commit any fraud. You know what I'm saying? basically taking the oath to never sin again, you feel me? And you know what I'm saying? So he goes on to say that they were singing songs to Christ as if he were God. This lines up with the Bible when it says, and it's talking about Jesus right here, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage, you know? So this lines up with our belief today when Christians, we believe that Jesus is God, you feel me? So that's been part of the philosophy of being a Christian since the beginning of Christianity, since it was a thing. It says that they got together before light they met on a certain fixed day. You know what I'm saying? Right here it says they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer, you know what I'm saying? So they meeting up on fixed days, singing songs to Christ as if he God, breaking bread with each other, praying, you feel me? All this stuff, taking the event on certain fixed days, you know what I'm saying? This lines up right here with Acts 2 verse 46. It just all lines up too good, you know what I'm saying? You got these character changes, you know what I'm saying? James is one example of a character changing. You got sources outside of the Bible lining up with the stuff inside the Bible, you know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? We know that Jesus wasn't just a made up story or nothing. We know Jesus really was walking around on earth, you feel me? We know that Jesus really did have a brother named James, who went from not believing to becoming one of the leaders of the church and died behind his faith, you feel me? If you're gonna die behind something like that, then you had to saw something radical, you feel me? I think that proves Jesus' resurrection. I know a lot of people will say, like, just because the Bible say this don't mean that it actually happened, but Peter didn't believe at first either, you know what I'm saying? Until Jesus showed them, like, the stuff with the fish, you know what I'm saying? You see more than just one character change throughout the Bible. I could bring them up, but for the sake of time, not. It just all lines up too good, you feel me? I hope this was informal. I probably could have did a little better, but I wanted to shoot it out as quick as I could, you feel me? But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments, you feel me? Like, if you're an atheist or something, let me know why this ain't sufficient enough to believe, you feel me? I want as many people believe as possible, fam. I want everybody to believe because this really is the truth. Yeah, man, I ain't gonna go too crazy with it, man. But if you like the video, hit that like and subscribe button, man. You're on the road to 200, you feel me? Hit that subscribe, and that like. Hit that like so it can go out to as many people as possible, you feel me? And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, man. Ain't really got nothing to say. Until next time.